Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I make my peyote triangles with a floating bead in the centre, because I've been asked about this quite a few times from different collider cycles that I've made in the past. I've always had a lot of questions about how I put the bead in the middle. So here's some examples. Still got all the threads attached because I'm working on some collider cycles at the moment. So if you are not familiar with how to do a regular peyote triangle, which is like this, you can do lots of different patterns, as you can see. If you're not familiar with how to do one of those, I would suggest that you go and watch my other video on how to do one of those first, because you do really need to be familiar with the technique of peyote down the sides and how to make the corners, so that you can do this, because this is a bit more advanced than that. So definitely learn how to do that first and then come back and watch this one. But if you already know how to do that, or you have some experience doing triangular peyote stitch, then I'm going to show you how to do this today. So I'm going to show you how to do it with a 6mm round bead. Oops, little smiley face. And you can pick any size 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10mm bead to do this with, and I'm going to show you the technique, but I'm also going to tell you each time like how many you'd pick up if you were doing a different sized bead, if you see what I mean. You can do round beads, fire polish beads. I find that the fire polish and the round beads fit nicest in the holes. As you can see, I've done some other different shaped beads. This one actually fit really nice as well. You just got to make sure it's not like, how do I explain it, too wide. So the size of the bead, say the 6mm, is 6mm from the hole to the end of the other hole, and that's where you're going to join it. But you then don't want it to be too wide. So if it's 6mm, it can't really be like 6 by 8, or it's going to need a bigger hole, if you see what I mean. So round beads and fire polish do work the best for this, so that's what I'd recommend for when you're starting out. So you'll need your bead, so my 6mm round bead, and then you'll need Miyuki Delica beads, size 11, to make the triangle. It really works best with these. It's not going to look the same at all with round seed beads, because these beads are cut with a straight edge, like a little cylinder, so they stack perfectly together. The round beads have gaps between, so you really do need to get these for this kind of project. So I'm using this mix that I made and this silver lined pink, and for the way that I'm going to show you today, you're going to need 2 colours, so either a mix and a colour or just 2 solid colours. I'm going to do something similar to this where it's a different colour in the corners, and that's just so that I can show you more easily how to do this. Once you know how to do it, you don't have to do a different colour in the corners like on these ones. You can just come up with your own patterns. Then you'll need some thread. I'm going to use 6 pound Violine for this, but you can use any beading thread that you like. So I'm going to be doing a triangle this size, so it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. So you count the rows in the corner, 6 rows, and then the bead in the middle. And so I'm going to cut 24 inches of thread for that. If you're doing a bigger one, you're obviously going to need a bit more, and less if you're doing smaller. Another thing is, as we go, you can stop whenever you want. You don't have to add as many rows as this, or you can do even more. But yeah, you can do less or more depending on how big you want your triangles to be. Also forgot to say, you will of course need a beading needle. I'm going to use a size 12 beading needle. You can use a size 15 if you want, as these are quite small beads. And I've threaded that onto my thread. So lay your beads out, so you've got your corner colour first as your first colour, and then your side colour, which is down here, as I suppose that's your main colour. Lay that out second. So the construction of one of these triangles basically works where you have 2 beads in the corner, say for example in the second row, these 2 turquoise beads, and then you'll have a row of your main colour, and then 2 corner beads, and then a row of your main colour, 2 corner beads, and then a row of your main colour, and join them all together to make a loop. And then you do peyote along the side beads and add corner beads in between, and then it creates this shape. So for this 6mm bead, you're going to pick up 2 of your corner beads, and the corners are going to be the same. You always pick up 2 on the corner no matter what size bead you're doing. So pick up a corner, and then you're going to pick up a side. So for the 6mm bead, along your side you're going to pick up, or well, for a 5 or a 6mm bead you'll pick up 7 for each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then pick up another corner, so 2 beads. Then pick up another side, which is 7, and then pick up another side, another corner, sorry, which is 2 beads. So now we've got 3 corners, you need 1 more side. So 3 corners and 3 sides, as it's a triangle, of course. So picking up 7. Okay, so this is what you should pick up for a 6mm bead. A corner, a side of 7, a corner, a side of 7, a corner, and a side of 7. So for a 5 or 6mm bead, sorry, that is. For a 3 or 4mm bead like this, you're going to pick up a corner, and then a side of 5, a corner, 5, corner, 5. For a 7 or 8mm bead, you're going to pick up corners and sides of 9. For a 9 or 10mm bead, you're going to pick up sides of 11. So go ahead and do that for whatever size bead you're doing it. And then you're going to slide those down. And before you do that, actually, more so if you're picking up like 11 beads, if you're doing a big bead, you just want to count this and check that you've got the exact right number, because it won't work at all if you're even 1 bead out with this. So it has to be really precise. So just, it's easier to double check it now rather than having to undo it when you realise at the end of the row that you've got the wrong number. Another thing is, if you keep experimenting, you want to go bigger and bigger, you just have to make sure that the number you have down the sides has to be an odd number. It just doesn't work with an even number on the sides, so just bear that in mind if you want to go even bigger. You can't really go smaller. You could, but I don't think you'd fit. You'd probably just fit a seed bead in there, so it wouldn't really be much point, I guess. So slide those down until they're almost at the end. I just leave enough so that I can hold it like this. I guess it's about 4 inches, maybe 5. And then you want to go up through the first bead of the corner, just through the first one. So I've got my 2 corner beads there, going through the first one to bring those all together into a circle. So we have this. So these are going to be your corners and these are going to be your sides. So this is where we do peyote stitch. So from here we've got the 7 beads that we added. So if you're doing a 6mm bead like me, or a 5mm bead, we're going to add in 4 beads along this side to get to the other corner, which I'll show you how in a minute, but I just want to tell you the numbers so that you can get going with it if you're doing a different size once I've showed you. So along this side we'll be doing 4 beads. If you're doing a 3 or 4mm bead, you'll add 3 beads. If you're doing a 7 or 8mm bead, you'll add 5 beads. And if you're doing a 9 or 10mm bead, you'll add 6 beads along the side of the peyote. And that will make sense in a minute. Sorry, I just wanted to get the numbers out there so that you can get going with it once we get to that bit. So coming out of this bead here, we're in the middle of a corner. So you need to pick up 2 of your corner beads, like you would on a regular triangle, and go straight down through that next corner bead. Just making sure you keep both strings pulled tight or it will start to get gappy. Okay, and then when you pull that down, you might split a bit like that. Just push your tail thread tight again. See how that loosens. If you keep pulling your tail thread tight, it will tighten up. So the first row is always a bit loose and messy, but when you get to the very last bead and pull it tight, it all kind of pops into place. You'll see what I mean. So holding that nice and tight. So here is where we start the peyote stitch. So you should be familiar with it if you've done the normal triangles. It's just that you're starting kind of higher up in the triangle. We're starting like, ooh, focus. Starting like out here instead of starting in the middle. So, like I said, for the 5 or 6 millimeter, we're going to be picking up 4 beads for peyote. So starting with the first one, simple as coming out of here, skip over one, go through the next one. It's just a little fiddly to hold on the first row. As long as you follow that rule and keep going round, follow the steps, you should be okay. Then picking up one, coming out of here, so you're skipping over one, going through the next one. Oops. Pick up one, skip over one, go through the next one. And then picking up one, skipping over one, and going through the next one, which is the first bead of your corner. Obviously, if you're doing more beads along the row, you'll have a few more to add, but it's that same technique, just keep going until you get to your corner. So basically, it doesn't matter how many beads, how big of a bead you're doing, it's just the same technique, you just have more or less beads to add on the sides. So hopefully it all makes sense. So now we're at the corner again, so just picking up 2 of your corner beads, coming out of this one, and you're going to go straight through the next corner bead. Make sure they stack nicely like that, and then you're going to add your peyote along this side. So as always, just picking up one, skipping over one, going through the next bead. Pick up one, skip over one, go through the next bead. Pick up one, skip over one, through the next bead. Pick up one, skip over one, through the next bead, which should be, if you're doing my size, the corner bead. So then add your corner in the same way, picking up 2, coming out of this one and going straight down through the next one. Okay, pull that through. So now you have this, it's getting a little bit wobbly, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, it will straighten out when you do this last side. So along here, go ahead and add the beads that you need to get to your next corner in the same way, skipping over one and through the next one, and then I'll show you what to do next. Oh, and when you get to the corner bead, you'll go through the bottom corner bead and the one above. I'll show you that in more detail when I get there. So I'm just about to add my last bead of this edge. So I just wanted to show you that you just need to make sure that you're going back into the right corner bead. So you're at the end of the row, you're on your 3rd side. So that means you need to step up. So you're coming out of this one, skipping over one and going through the next one that's still on that bottom row that you're working on. So if you were to go from here, skipping over one and into this top corner bead, oops, it would mess up your pattern and you'd have a gap here. Could just make sure you're going into, on the 3rd side of your triangle, on the last side, you're always going to be going into the top 2 corner beads. So, and you go through the one above as well, just the reason for that is to make sure that you're ready to start your next row. Pull that nice and tight, and it should start to straighten out a little bit like this. Okay, so, and then you just continue. So now it's going to be a lot easier for you. So you're just going to add your next corner in the same way, picking up 2 like you would on a normal triangle. Now it's just like working on your regular peyote triangle. So like I said at the beginning, you should be able to do that. If you're watching this video, you should already be able to do a triangle. So now you're just going to fill in your sides with however many beads it takes to get to your next corner. So skipping over one and going through the next one, and now it's easier to see because you've got the beads that are sticking up. But it's always the same rule: skip over one, go through the next one, skip over one, through the next one, skip over one, through the next one. And here again, so we're at the corner. Because it's still a little bit wonky, if you just press it down so that it sits like a nice triangle, you'll see that we're coming out of this one. You need to skip that bottom corner bead and go into the one on the top row, because we're on the first side. That's how it needs to work. When you get back round to here, to the end of your row, you can kind of see here now, this is where you need to put the last bead, between this pink bead and this second corner bead. You see how they're on the same row as each other, the same level. So when you get to the end, you'll pick up your bead like normal, skip that red one underneath, go through the yellow or the second corner bead, sorry, and up into the one above as well. So go ahead and add your next row and then keep going and adding as many rows as you want. It's just, like I said, like a normal triangle now. And then once you've added as many rows as you want, I will show you how to add the bead in the middle. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added as many rows as I want, so I switched to my mix for the last 2 rows just to give it that nice edge. Once you've got the size that you want, just something to bear in mind is that depending what you're making your triangle for, when you add your last row, you want to put a single bead in between the corner beads to give it that point, like I have done on here. You see how there's a single bead in the corner that just finishes off the triangle to a nice point, but I haven't done that yet just because I'm still working on the kaleidocycle. I'm not at that stage yet where I want to add the edges. So I will do that later, but that's something to think about. If you wanted to do that as well, you can go ahead and do that. But how I add the bead in the middle now, so you need to be coming out of first bead of one of your corners, and then you're going to move down through this whole side of this corner, like that. And then it's just as simple as picking up your bead and going into the beads opposite. So for a 6mm bead or a 5mm bead, you're going to have these 4 beads sticking out in the middle, so you don't have an actual central bead. So what I tend to do is go into this second one, through the one above, and then like through that one as well. So I'm going like that through these 2 and the one behind it, just so that I'm going through the 2 central beads. If you're doing, I think it's the 3 or 4mm one, you do actually have a bead opposite that's in the middle, so you can just go through that one. So it depends really. You can either do it like this or just find a central bead that you can go through, but I do it like that so that it's going to sit nice in the middle, so that when I pull that through, then from this side of whichever bead you're coming out of, you want to go back through the bead we're adding, pull it nice and tight, and then back up through all of these beads on this side to get to the top. So it's already connected. Ooh. It's already connected to this side over here, so we're going to connect it to the other side of the corner, and take your needle all the way back up to the top. There we go. So now I have this. So obviously a 5mm bead is going to sit a little looser in here. The 6mm bead just fits. and that's a round bead as well. Fire polish bead fit a little easier because they're a bit narrower. But yeah, so that's how I add a floating bead in the middle of my triangles. I hope that wasn't too confusing with all the numbers, but yeah, I hope you're able to make one of these and let me know what you use it for. If you're doing a kaleidocycle, or if you just wanted it as a pendant, you could always now add a regular triangle on the back and then stitch them together, zip them together like you can do with peyote to make like a 3D triangle. You could do that. And also you can follow me on Instagram. So I've been posting updates and reminders for my next shop update. So I'm having a big kaleidocycle shop update, so I'll be selling lots of my fun beaded kaleidocycles over there. And I won't be doing a tutorial for these, but I do have a tutorial on how to make like a little pyramid, so like one of these. But I won't be doing a tutorial for the actual kaleidocycle, but I do sell them occasionally in my shop when I've made a batch. So this is one that's going to be in the sale, and all of these will be involved. And then there's this one, finished one as well, which is so shiny. Can't even explain in person like how shiny these beads are around the edge. You can kind of see it when I spin it, the shine on those beads. And I'll also have infinity cubes as well, mini ones that you can fidget with on the go, like this. So fun. You are supposed to clip it off before you fidget with it, but yeah. So you can check out my Instagram, that is at Beading by Hannah. So you can find out all the info on that if you wanted to get involved in my shop update. I really appreciate it. And comment down below if you're able to make one of these, and also on Instagram you can send me a photo or a video if you do make something from any of my videos. You can always share it with me over there, and I like to share them to my stories if people do. Comment here down below anything else you'd like to see. For springtime videos coming up, I'm planning to do some Easter videos as well this year, like a cute little bunny and chick, which is going to be so cute. So subscribe so you don't miss it, and like this video if you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you next time. Bye.